Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thanks to our panel. Really appreciate your time today. Mr. Shaw, one of the concerns I have about NSF funding in general is the disparity in funding allocation. In 2018, 7 states received half of all NSF funding, and the bottom 10 states shared 3% of funding. So to put a finer point on it, California in 2018 received 774 million from NSF, and Wyoming received 49 million. So what can we do to alleviate this disparity and make sure rural America has a fair shot at funding?
Senator, thank you for the question. That's certainly a great question, and I spoke to that in some of my opening remarks and have expanded on that in some of the written comments that I have provided. Thank you laying your finger on something that really is critical if we are going to be able to move forward as a nation. The opportunity that we see in some of the proposed language that I've seen that highlights the EPSCoR, the established program to stimulate competitive research, is very heartening to see. And as a participant in that in our state, and frankly, as the previous principal investigator for our statewide EPSCoR program, I can speak very directly to the benefits of that program. I think we need to be looking at how we can use the EPSCoR funds and funds like that to be able to use it to enhance the research infrastructure in our states. And frankly, one of the things that we have seen in our state is that it also enhances something else that we have talked about a lot during the hearing today, and that is collaboration. All of the research institutions in the state for Track 1 programs within EPSCoR are required to work together. And that is something that has been extraordinarily beneficial in our state, and I know in all of the other 28 jurisdictions that fall within the EPSCoR program. I think above and beyond that, we need to be thinking very broadly about some of the other programs that are outlined in this and that have been under discussion for quite some time. Everything from undergraduate research programs that are very strongly supported by NSF, but I think we need to be thinking about that in regard to the technology directorate in ways that we can involve undergraduate students much more directly and broadly, all the way to some of the support that has been suggested that we provide for not only PhD students, but in particular postgraduate programs.
Thank you, Dr. Shaw. In a former life, I was on University of Wyoming's EPSCoR coordinating committee. So when you're talking about EPSCoR, you're near and dear to my heart. Mr. Drogemeyer, the Endless Frontier Act plans to establish regional technology hubs to focus on research and commercialization of new and emerging technology. Now, keeping in mind the disparity in NSF funding, it's important to ensure geographic diversity in the placement of these technology hubs too, to see that rural states like Wyoming, Montana, and North Dakota receive some locations. So how can the bill be updated to ensure rural and frontier states will host some of these technology hubs and not just spoked around the big cities and the big universities?
Well, thank you, Senator. Coming from Oklahoma, I couldn't agree more. As I mentioned, these sorts of states have tremendous capabilities, and in fact, I think we talked earlier about expanding. I think it said at least one of those would be in an EPSCoR jurisdiction, and as Dr. Shaw just mentioned, the one beautiful thing about EPSCoR, as you well know, it brings the entire state together, all the different institutions working together. So I would see that they would be especially competitive to put forth proposals to create these innovation ecosystems. And frankly, if you look up and down the middle part of the country, at all the way from Dakotas down to the Gulf Coast, you find some of the major corporations in America, not just energy companies, but Tyson Foods and other companies like that. So I think we are, and of course they depend a lot upon technology. So I think those states are really poised to do this, and I think that the bill needs to be stronger, as we heard suggested earlier, to bring in some of these other jurisdictions that don't historically perform as well in terms of sponsored research to do these innovation hubs. It really should not be a one-size-fits-all program, frankly. A hub that's going to be, say, in one part of the country is not going to look like a hub in another. And so they ought to not really be competed against one another, but competed against what's best for America.
Love your answers. Thank you so much. I yield back.
Thank you.